Welcome to Dr. Han's Pharmacy Classroom Pro Physiology series. This is where you will find lectures explained better than your professors. The human nervous system can be broadly divided into two divisions based on their locations, the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. The CNS involves the brain and spinal cord, and the PNS contains all the nerves responsible for communication to and from the brain and spinal cord to other organs in the body, such as the heart and lung. The PNS can be organized based on neuronal communication. The sensory division carries sensory information from the peripheral to the CNS. They are also called afferent neurons. On the other hand, the neurons that carry motor functions from the CNS to peripherals are called efferent neurons. You can think of it as having an effect on the peripheral organs. The PNS can also be organized based on the types of peripheral organ activities. The somatic nervous system, SNS, operates under conscious control and controls skeletal muscles. The autonomic nervous system, ANS, operates without conscious instruction and controls central visceral organs. The ANS is important in coordinating with cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive system functions. As the name says, they are autonomic and operate largely outside of our awareness. The ANS is further divided into three branches: the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, and the enteric nervous system. In this video, we will focus on the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions. The sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions most often have opposing effects. If the sympathetic division causes excitation, the parasympathetic causes inhibition. The two divisions may also work independently. Some effector organs, such as the adrenal medulla, sweat glands, pilomotor muscles, and many blood vessels, are only innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. The two divisions may also work together, with each controlling one stage of complex process. For example, the parasympathetic division stimulates the erection of the male genital, and the sympathetic nervous system stimulates orgasm. The sympathetic division is generally termed for its fight or flight reactions. It kicks in during exertion, stress, or emergency. It has acetylcholine-releasing preganglionic neurons that synapse on the cell bodies of the ganglionic neurons within the ganglion. They are myelinated and relatively short. The ganglionic neuron cell bodies are located within the ganglion, and their axons are unmyelinated and relatively long. When the preganglionic neurons synapse into the adrenal medulla, the adrenal medulla serves as a modified sympathetic ganglion. The ganglionic neuron cell in this case is very short and releases neurotransmitters into the bloodstream. About 80% of the neurotransmitters are epinephrine and 20% are norepinephrine. They function as hormones and can have longer lasting effects on target cells throughout the body. Generally, sympathetic activation in sympathetic adrenergic pathways leads to norepinephrine release to specific effector organs and causes increased alertness, feeling energy, euphoria, increased breathing rate, and elevated muscle tone. Sympathetic stimulations are primarily from interactions of norepinephrine and epinephrine with alpha and beta adrenergic receptors. However, there is a special case. In generalized sweating, sympathetic cholinergic pathways are active. The released acetylcholine stimulates sweat gland secretion and increases generalized sweating. In contrast to the sympathetic division, the parasympathetic division is generally termed for its rest and digest reactions. Its action dominates during resting conditions, reduces metabolic rate, and promotes digestion. It has acetylcholine-releasing preganglionic neurons that synapse onto the cell bodies of ganglionic neurons within the ganglion. Almost 75% of all parasympathetic outflow travels along the vagus nerve. They are myelinated and relatively long. The ganglionic neuron cell bodies are located within the ganglion, and their axons are unmyelinated and relatively short. Parasympathetic activation leads to acetylcholine release to specific effector organs. It causes constriction of the pupils, secretion of digestive hormones, constriction of respiratory passageways, reduced heart rate, and the force of contraction. Parasympathetic activation also stimulates and coordinates defecation and contraction of the urinary bladder during urination. Acetylcholine activates two types of receptors. When they are released from the preganglionic cells, it stimulates nicotinic receptors on the surface of ganglion cells in both sympathetic and parasympathetic pathways, causing excitation of the ganglion neuron. And skeletal muscles also contain nicotinic receptors and are activated at neuromuscular junction by acetylcholine. Acetylcholine activates different types of muscarinic receptors at neuroglandular junctions at effector organs.